Okay, so this is my audience for my speech on the Civil War.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Rebecca, and I chose to write my speech on the Civil War. More specifically, 3 key battles that occurred during the Civil War. The Battle of Fort Sumter, the Battle of Antietam, and the Battle of Appomattox Courthouse. Around the time of the 1860 election, slavery had become a controversial issue within the United States. When Abraham Lincoln was elected president, the southern states felt a threat that he would one day end slavery within the whole nation. But according to Michael Johnson and Abraham Lincoln, Slavery and the Civil War, Lincoln had no intent to do that. He just didn't want it to expand into further territories. With that, South Carolina, followed by 4 other states, decided to leave the Union. But war had not begun yet. It would not begin until fire was first exchanged. Which brings us to our first battle, the Battle of Fort Sumter. The Battle of Fort Sumter occurred on April 12, 1861, when Union General Anderson occupied Fort Sumter in Charleston Harbor, South Carolina. General Beauregard, from the Confederacy, asked him to surrender the fort and leave immediately, but Anderson refused. Unfortunately, the Union lacked sufficient ammunition for this to be a fair fight, and eventually they were forced to surrender the fort. And according to History.com, this is when war had finally begun. Fortunately, there were no casualties in this battle, but that is certainly not the case with our next battle. The Battle of Antietam occurred on September 17, 1862. It's considered the bloodiest day in American history with 22,717 casualties. It occurred in Sharpsburg, Maryland, when Joseph Hooker from the Union attacked Robert E. Lee's army. The Union had the numerical advantage, but the Confederacy held their ground. The Union wasn't able to fully destroy their forces, and Lee escaped to Virginia, much to Lincoln's disappointment. According to CivilWar.org, tactically this battle is considered a draw, but strategically it's considered a victory because it gave Lincoln the confidence to announce his Emancipation Proclamation, which declared all slaves in the rebelling states free in the eyes of the government. And our next battle would bring this bloody war, to a close. The Battle of Appomattox Courthouse occurred on April 9th, 1865, when the Confederates surrounded the Union. The Union was severely outnumbered, and initially the Confederacy was successful. But soon reinforcements arrived, and the Confederacy was surrounded. They attempted to retreat across the Appomattox River, but soon Robert E. Lee realized that he would either have to surrender or face slaughter. Ulysses S. Grant accepted Lee's surrender and allowed the soldiers to return home under very lenient circumstances. According to ExploreSouthernHistory.com, this was Lee's final battle, and war had come to a close in Virginia. Remaining Confederate forces soon followed the example set here at Appomattox and surrendered as well, bringing our war to a close. Again, the 3 key battles that were important for the Civil War were the Battle of Fort Sumter, the Battle of Antietam, and the Battle of Appomattox Courthouse. These dates are very significant in American history and will not be soon forgotten. These dates represent the beginning of a war, the bloodiest day in American history, and not only an end to war, but a solidification of our nation's unity. Thank you.
Yay.